Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. In 1957, in a seemingly ordinary farmland on the outskirts of Xi'an, a startling discovery was about to unfold. It was a typical spring day. The sun bathed the fields in warm light, and workers were laboring hard, drenched in sweat. The land had just been purchased by a company planning to build a warehouse. But when one of the workers swung his hoe down forcefully, it struck something hard with a dull thud. The jarring impact numbed his hands, nearly sending the hoe flying. Rubbing his hands in pain, he called out, attracting the attention of nearby co-workers. They gathered around and began clearing away the dirt. To their astonishment, they uncovered a massive bluestone slab, already fractured into several pieces. The workers exchanged glances. This was no ordinary stone. It was most likely an ancient tomb. Xi'an, after all, is no ordinary place. Since the Western Zhou dynasty, it had served as the capital of 13 dynasties, and its ground is riddled with countless historical relics. When the Xianyang airport was being expanded, digging in any direction unearthed thousands of tombs. So, these workers were no strangers to ancient remains. They immediately stopped work and alerted the local Cultural Relics Authority. News of the find spread quickly. Some workers who had stayed behind to watch out of curiosity started speculating whether they might be able to pick up any leftovers. But they would soon regret their curiosity. This tomb's discovery not only shook the archaeological world but also sent chills down the spines of everyone present. The archaeological team arrived promptly after being notified. They uncovered a sizable tomb with traces of rammed earth structures nearby. The remaining visible portion was about 50 meters long and more than 20 meters wide, suggesting a person of high status had been buried there. The tomb passage sloped downward, oriented north to south, and measured around 7 meters in length. Faint but exquisite murals still adorned the walls, and the doorframe bore vivid reliefs of birds and beasts. From an aerial perspective, the tomb was shaped like the Chinese character Jia, a design reserved for aristocrats in ancient pit-style vertical shaft tombs. Constructing such a tomb required not only immense wealth but also noble status. The archaeologists' attention soon focused on a massive bluestone sarcophagus at the center of the burial chamber. Measuring over 2 meters in length and about the height of an average adult, its surface was intricately carved, clearly something only a person of high rank could afford. For context, a gua is an outer coffin that encloses the inner coffin and is a symbol of social status in ancient China. Most commoners could only afford a single, thin coffin. Some couldn't even afford that. A stone sarcophagus indicated aristocracy. The experts preliminarily judged that the tomb's owner must have been a person of great prominence. But rather than open the sarcophagus immediately, they instructed workers to continue excavating carefully to preserve the tomb as fully as possible. After all, archaeology isn't treasure hunting, it's about revealing history in its most complete form. The excavation progressed methodically. The rammed earth surrounding the chamber was cleared with great care, revealing even more details. The murals along the tomb passage depicted cranes flying amidst auspicious clouds. The carvings on the brackets, dugong, were so detailed that even the feather patterns were visible. These features all pointed to the noble identity of the tomb's owner and the superb craftsmanship of the time. The workers grew more excited with each layer they unearthed, imagining the treasures hidden within. The archaeologists, however, remained cautious. They knew that tombs of this caliber indicated not just wealth, but power. This find could very well be one for the history books. When about half the tomb had been cleared, the workers carefully removed some broken slabs from the top of the sarcophagus. What they saw stunned everyone. There was no wooden coffin inside. Instead, they found a beautifully carved roof, complete with ridges, tiles, eaves, and dugong brackets. The tiles were etched with lotus patterns. It resembled a miniature palace. Upon closer inspection, it became clear that the tiles were not individually laid but carved from a single piece of bluestone. The archaeologists quickly realized this ornate roof was actually the lid of the stone sarcophagus, a sarcophagus cover. Such an intricate design was virtually unheard of in ancient tombs, an extraordinary rarity. Just imagine, over 1,000 years ago, craftsmen had sculpted an entire miniature palace from a single stone, all to safeguard the deceased within. The tomb owner's status must have been unimaginably exalted. The team decided to use a crane to lift the lid and examine what lay beneath. But as they were fastening the lifting straps, a worker suddenly cried out in alarm. He pointed at the tiles on the sarcophagus lid, speechless with fear. Everyone turned to look, and saw, 4 ominous characters carved into the tiles, "He who opens this shall die." The sight instantly erupted in panic. Terrified workers dropped their tools and tried to flee. Some muttered under their breath, "This tomb is cursed, let's not bring disaster upon ourselves." The archaeologists rushed to calm the situation and restore order. When people hear the word curse, they often think of the tomb of Egyptian pharaoh Tutankhamun. According to legend, over 20 members of the British excavation team that unearthed his tomb in 1922 died under mysterious circumstances. Some were killed by insect bites that caused severe illness, others fell into madness and committed suicide, while some perished in inexplicable accidents. These eerie events turned the pharaoh's curse into a globally famous and still unresolved mystery. In contrast, tomb curses are extremely rare in Chinese archaeology. Why is that? For one, ancient Chinese elites placed great importance on ritual decorum. Writing curses was seen as vulgar and beneath them. For another, rather than relying on superstitious warnings, ancient Chinese tomb builders preferred practical anti-theft measures, like mechanical traps, hidden crossbows, or mythical features like rivers of mercury. While these measures might not match the exaggerations in novels, they were certainly effective in deterring grave robbers. Still, the phrase, "He who opens this shall die," sent chills through everyone present. No one wanted to risk their life just to test whether the curse was real. The archaeological team decided to revise their excavation strategy and proceed even more cautiously. Using the crane, they slowly lifted the sarcophagus lid. What was revealed left everyone holding their breath. Inside, the sarcophagus looked like a miniature palace, carved beams, painted rafters, and stunning detail. Arranged neatly inside were dozens of terracotta figurines, men and women, civil and military officials, livestock and poultry, all exquisitely crafted, vividly lifelike, and seemingly recreating the tomb owner's life. Though some of the paint had faded with time, the artistry remained stunning. Years later, the discovery of the terracotta army of the first emperor would be even more awe-inspiring, but at that time, these figurines already left experts and workers alike speechless. Scattered among the figurines were over a dozen exquisite porcelain items. The white porcelain was as smooth and translucent as a maiden's skin, the celadon pieces gleamed like polished jade. One particularly unique white porcelain pot was shaped like 2 dragons drinking water, with a finely carved neck and an opulent design, truly a masterpiece. Other items included dragon-patterned ceramics, gold and jade vessels, Persian-style wine cups, and even silver coins from the Sasanian Empire. These foreign-style artifacts reflected the frequent trade and cultural exchange between China and Central Asia during the Sui and Tang dynasties. Over 100 burial objects were found, ranging from decorations to everyday items, offering a glimpse into the lavish lifestyle of the tomb's owner. Imagine living in a palace, accompanied in death by attendants, officials, livestock, and daily necessities. What an exalted status this person must have had. When the sarcophagus was fully cleared, the actual stone coffin inside was finally revealed. Though less than 2 meters long, under 1 meter wide, and about 1 meter high. It was a true work of art. The coffin mimicked a palace structure. Its base resembled a temple's foundation, the north and south sides were carved with windows, and the west side had a main entrance with 3 halls divided by 4 columns. The details on the door were so precise that even the rivets were visible. On either side of the door were carvings of 2 maidservants, one holding an object, the other gazing gracefully, both lifelike and expressive. The craftsmanship was nothing short of extraordinary. Some experts began to suspect, could this be an imperial tomb? But the tomb's overall scale was clearly smaller than those of emperors. So, the question remained, who exactly was buried here? After lifting the lid of the coffin, the archaeological team discovered a layer of decayed fabric inside. It was so fragile that it crumbled at the slightest touch. Once cleared, the occupant of the tomb was finally revealed. Astonishingly, it was a child. Judging by the size, and barring any rare medical conditions, the tomb's owner was no older than 10. Yet the burial objects that accompanied this child were shockingly extravagant, on par with those of emperors. Most striking of all was a necklace on the child's chest, a breathtaking piece composed of 28 embroidered golden spheres, each containing 12 gold rings and inlaid with pearls that shimmered brilliantly. The clasp of the necklace was carved into the shape of a fawn from dark blue tourmaline, with a 3.1 centimeter long lapis lazuli pendant hanging from the bottom. The craftsmanship was exquisite, and the exotic design hinted at a foreign origin, possibly Pakistan. Even by today's standards, this piece ranks among the most luxurious discoveries in Chinese archaeological history. There were even more treasures inside the coffin. Atop the child's head was a golden hair ornament adorned with hundreds of gold flowers and pearls, topped with a lifelike golden butterfly seemingly about to land among the blossoms. Delicate bracelets, rings, and golden threaded clothing were all crafted with meticulous detail. Numerous jade objects, carved into shapes like rabbits, puppies, and fish, clearly served as toys during the child's life. These findings left experts in awe. Who was this little girl? Why was she honored with such a lavish burial? Her tomb was not merely a miniature palace, it held treasures that far exceeded the burial standards of most princes and nobles. The answer lay on a stone tablet within the tomb. After clearing the grave goods, the team finally uncovered an inscription that revealed the tomb owner's identity. It read, "Her name was Li Jingxuan, courtesy name Xiaohai. She was born in the year 600 AD and died in 608 AD, at the tender age of 9. Her father was Li Min, a high-ranking official of the Qing Dynasty, and her mother was Princess Yuan Ying of the Northern Zhou Dynasty. Li Jingxuan's grandmother was none other than the illustrious Yang Lihua, the eldest daughter of Emperor Wen of Sui, Empress of the Northern Zhou, later titled Princess of Leping. Yang Lihua was a key figure in the founding of the Sui dynasty. As both a Northern Zhou empress and the daughter of Emperor Wen, she held immense influence after the dynasty's establishment. When her daughter Yuan Ying married Li Min, the wedding was a grand affair, comparable to that of a princess marrying a royal consort. Yang Lihua later helped secure an official post for her son-in-law, underscoring her high regard for the couple. Little Li Jingxuan, adored from birth as Yang Lihua's granddaughter, grew up in Chang'an Palace. She was known for her intelligence, grace, and spiritual insight beyond her years. Not only did she study court etiquette, but she also practiced Buddhism alongside her grandmother. Historical records even state she could recite Buddhist scriptures and had a gentle temperament that endeared her to the entire family. But fate was especially cruel to this child who had known nothing but love. In the year 608 AD, during a trip to Lishan Palace with her grandmother Yang Lihua, the 9-year-old suddenly fell gravely ill. The exact illness was not recorded, though some speculate it might have been due to exposure or an undiagnosable condition of the time. Even summoning the best imperial physicians failed to save her. In the end, this flower-like child took her last breath en route. Overcome with grief, Yang Lihua immediately requested Emperor Wen to issue a decree for her granddaughter to be buried with honors at Wanshan Monastery in Chang'an County. Her tomb, located beside a royal temple, was built to the specifications of a sacred stupa, reflecting her extraordinary status. Over 200 precious items buried within the tomb record the artistic pinnacle of the Sui Tang era and testify to the deep affection Yang Lihua had for her granddaughter. The ominous curse inscribed in the tomb, "Those who open this will die," was not meant to frighten but served as Yang Lihua's final warning to tomb raiders, a plea for her granddaughter's peace in the afterlife. Of course, the archaeological team suffered no ill effects from the curse. The excavation proceeded smoothly, and the relics are now displayed at the Xi'an City Museum, offering the world a glimpse into that bygone era. When it came to tomb protection, ancient people were extraordinarily creative. Aside from curses, history holds many clever anti-looting strategies. Take, for example, the legendary tomb of Cao Cao, said to have been hidden among 72 decoy tombs, making its exact location uncertain even today. The tomb of Genghis Khan is steeped in steppe legend. After burial, a young camel was sacrificed so its mother would remember the grave's location, only she could lead others there. In southern China, there were cliff burials with coffins placed in inaccessible locations. Some even practiced hanging coffins, suspended on cliffside beams where few dared to tread. The mausoleum of Qing Shi Huang reportedly featured crossbows, mercury rivers, and quicksand traps, impressive feats of engineering, though many remain the stuff of legend, with few physical traces uncovered. As for curses, experts now believe they served more as psychological deterrents. Like the famous Curse of Tutankhamun's tomb, which was later linked to bacterial contamination or toxic gases in the sealed environment, not supernatural forces. The curse on Li Jingxuan's tomb should be viewed similarly, not as magic, but as an expression of Yang Lihua's grief and her warning to would-be looters. In fact, there were also negotiated curses in history. One epitaph from General Zhang Zhen of the Wei state contained a poem essentially saying, "I died poor with nothing of value in my coffin. Please don't dig me up." These were less threats than appeals to human decency. This tomb reveals not just the luxury and artistry of the Sui Tang period, but also the heartfelt bonds within the imperial family. The Sui and Tang dynasties were among the most open eras in Chinese history. As the starting point of the Silk Road, Chang'an attracted merchants from Persia, the Sassanid Empire, and beyond. The exotic artifacts found in the tomb are a microcosm of this cultural flourishing. The exquisite porcelain, jade carvings, and golden ornaments are not only masterpieces of craftsmanship, they are living proof of East-West exchange. The tomb of a 9-year-old girl, Li Jingxuan, still moves us today, not because of her noble lineage, but because the love and sorrow behind all that gold and jade remains so tangible across the centuries. She was not a legendary hero or a pivotal historical figure, but her short life left a gentle, enduring light in history. What we recount here is not just archaeology, not just emperors and generals, but the stories long buried and nearly forgotten, yet still remembered by someone. Li Jingxuan's tomb is a window into the past and a mirror of our shared humanity. Thank you for staying with us through this story. If it touched you too, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. In the face of death and forgetting, how can we keep memories alive? Perhaps, a single inscription, a short video, or even a walk through a museum, that might be the best answer. This is History and Culture channel. Like and subscribe are the biggest help and support for us. Thank you everyone. See you next time.